up, everybody? I don't know why I still have my earphones in. I don't have to hear anybody. Pull that out. What's going on, y'all? Live before lock. And we got a little bit of a weird one going on. Kyle Lowry, not only did he go from out to questionable, but now he's just straight up starting. So that should be fun. I hope everybody's ready there. Fred VanVleet 70% on FanDuel just went away. That's helpful. This should be good. Been looking at this stuff all day. I feel like I'm pretty dialed into the slate. Just have to physically enter my Yahoo lineups now. Yahoo doing some weird stuff today, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it all out. Hope everybody is having a good day. We can pretty much take questions from start to finish. We just got our ownership update. So that is going to be very pivotal for me personally, so I could take a look at the slate. And then I'm just going to walk through sort of generic thoughts, where I stand since this morning. And then we can dig into questions. And here I thought this was going to be a really light lull of a show. Not the case. Not the case. Boom. There we go. Yeah, no more Chalk VanVleet is helpful. What's going to be fun is smashing Kyle Lowry, who is now one of the best plays on the slate. So let's get it. Yeah, hit those thumbs up, people. Very, very helpful. Very helpful to us. So, here we go. And pow, pow. I'm going to leave the Toronto game up there right now, since this is the game that has changed the most since we got word. So, I've got Lowry in now for 32 minutes. I've walked back the minutes projections on VanVleet, DeLon Wright, all the rest of these clowns. Ooh, excuse me. So, Kyle Lowry is now the number one option on point guard at FanDuel, at DK, at Yahoo. No brainer for me. He is a different player when Kawhi Leonard is not on the floor. I've got him in for 1.26 fantasy points per minute tonight. He looks amazing. Not just that, Serge Ibaka. And you can't just immediately go to it and think this is going to be the way that it is. But Ibaka, in 208 minutes this season, without Valanciunas, Leonard, and OG Anunoby on the floor, 1.35 fantasy points per minute on FanDuel. With Lowry at 1.33, these guys appear to be the two biggest benefactors of Lowry not being on the floor. So keep an eye on it. Lowry and Ibaka are now the guys that I have my eye on the most for the Raptors. I would guess that Lowry's ownership still probably ends up lower than it should be, just based on being out most of the day, sites being slow to the draw. But that doesn't change the fact that you should have him in abundance. He is fantastic. If I talk about it from an overall perspective, Lowry is top 4 on FanDuel, Ibaka being one of those guys. If I look at it on a DK perspective, we're going to say that he is 3rd overall for me. Just get it. Get them both. Don't overthink it. These guys are just dramatically different guys with Kawhi Leonard off the floor. They're still, sizable favorites against the Phoenix Suns team. They play quick. It's a nice pace up spot. Hard to not like this. I would have no problem having Ibaka and Lowry as cornerstones of my lineup. They're simply too cheap. Ibaka on Yahoo in particular at just $20 is one that you really should keep an eye on. Sorry goes out to EMAC. The Fred VanVleet DraftKings contest was looking pretty good for him. Now a little bit less so. Got a beer. Felt like I needed a beer for this. Seemed like that kind of slate. Alcohol seems like it's going to be a priority when Lowry goes from out to in. So just going to walk through just holistic thoughts across every game. Not much has changed in most of these things. Hornets and Kings. This game has stayed pretty steady for me. Biyombo continues to look like a functional center punt on FanDuel and Yahoo at the minimum. On DraftKings, I'm not as enamored. Kemba, also FanDuel and Yahoo looking a little bit more appealing than DK, but I get why the public's at 25%-ish. That seems right to me. After that, I'm having a hard time saying that I would prioritize anything coming out of Charlotte. It's certainly not going to be Nick Batum, no matter how many minutes that guy can play. On the Sacramento side, Bogdan Bogdanovic is what I would say probably the best option on DK, 22% ownership. I would keep a very close eye on Buddy Hield. We're only projecting 7% ownership on FanDuel. On my last run through my model, I had him finishing as a top 4 value at shooting guard at a much higher clip. And if that's the case, he appeared to be under-owned in his tier. So I think Buddy Hield could be a guy that can get you a little bit extra. I think he's a little under-owned right now. You can work in Fox, Willie Cauley-Stein, Buddy Hield, Bogdan on any one of the sites and be fine, but they're really hard guys to prioritize. Josh hates Batum. I think everybody hates Batum, don't they? Pacers, Sixers. Big time pace up spot for the Pacers. I stand by where I was this morning. Manningdale City, yes. Van Vliet is still starting. It's Lowry, Van Vliet, Danny Green, Siakam, Ibaka, I believe. I get that right? I did. Yeah, I did. He's just... Van Vliet will probably just see a couple less minutes. He doesn't need to be in there as much now. Is probably the best way to say that. I think I have him at 28 minutes. Yeah, he could easily play 30. Still fine. Oladipo still looking good at that reduced price tag against Philly. Guards like that have roasted Philly pretty good so far this season. That's not normally something that I pay attention to, but I think it fits here. It gives me just another checkbox in order to be on the side of Oladipo. After that, it's kind of a tough sell. These guys look a little bit better on Yahoo than they do anywhere else. So Miles Turner, Thad Young, Bojan all in play. Miles Turner on FanDuel is probably a little appealing, but I'm not getting to a ton of Indiana outside of Victor Oladipo. If I look at the Sixers, Embiid, obviously status up in the air. We do not have anything definitive yet. Right now, it looks more like he's playing than not playing. You would assume we would get that news in the next 42 minutes. So, stick around, hang out until we figure it out. But as of right now, I'm assuming Embiid is in. And if that's the case, it's really hard for me to prioritize anybody here out of Philly outside of Embiid. Simmons just feels a little bit too expensive on FanDuel. And I don't know, you could talk me into like a little bit of JJ Redick, I guess, but he's getting some ownership. These guys are just better priced on DK, so keep that eye. Matthew Williams. Van Vliet played over 30 in the same situation a few games ago, and Anunoby was in that game. Yeah, the reduced minutes over the last 3 games, including missing that game in between, it doesn't strike me as a situation where Nick Nurse and the Raptors are just going to run Van Vliet out to soak up additional minutes. This is arguably the deepest team in the league. I just don't see the need for them to push Van Vliet here, especially with Lowry in now. They just have so many potential guys, and a matchup at home against the Suns doesn't strike me as the one where you want to risk overplaying someone that may or may not just have a gimpy leg. Like, he could be totally fine. I don't know, but I don't totally believe that they're going to stretch him out too hard. He still looks good, though. I'll switch to that now. Like, he's still a mid-tier value play for me on FanDuel. He's 5,400 on DraftKings. Like, that's a lot. Even if you do put him in for 32 minutes, which I think is reasonable. It's not as if he's in some like ridiculous smash spot. Keep in mind, Fred VanVleet in the situations with Valanciunas, Kawhi, and OG Anunoby off the floor, 175 minutes, 0.79 FanDuel points per minute. Again, you can't just go by that. I have him in for 0.89, but he hasn't been great in the last 30 days. Just 0.8 fantasy points per minute. I have him above that number. So I don't think that he's some fantastic value now. What you wanted were the minutes and the ability to run the offense a little bit more, the higher assist rate. His numbers with Lowry on and those guys off just haven't been that fantastic. So I would pump the brakes on Fred VanVleet. He doesn't grade out the same way. Lowry and Ibaka, as I said off the jump, those are the guys that I have my eye on. Siakam looks fantastic. He's second, fourth, and third across all three sites for me. Norm Powell at 3,600, still a very obvious punt play on FanDuel. You can get there for 3,900 on DK. I'm not that enamored on Yahoo. I think Danny Green is in play on FanDuel. These guys are just better priced on FanDuel. Danny Green's in play on FanDuel. Basically, any one of these top six guys, FanDuel looks pretty tasty. On DK, it's just Lowry, Ibaka, Siakam for me. And then Powell if you need it. But, Powell he needs to do a lot less now. I have Greg Monroe in for 15 minutes. It's not really that appealing to me. What am I getting here? Better punt on DK, Lopez, or Felicio? Neither. Where do I think I'll be on ownership versus the field on VanVleet and Lowry? Over on Lowry, I'd be shocked. Otherwise, VanVleet, I would hope under. Still see VanVleet hitting 50% on FanDuel. I hope so. He shouldn't. Biyombo or Plumlee on a FanDuel GPP would be Biyombo for me. On the Suns side, I still think Devin Booker looks really good on both FanDuel and DraftKings. I have interest in DeAndre Ayton, 7,200 on FanDuel, 6,600 on DraftKings. I think this is oddly a decent matchup for him. You can talk me into some TJ Warren, but if he's 28% owned, I think that if you're playing 150, I would probably want to come in around 14, 15, somewhere in that neighborhood. If you're playing a 20 max, go for like 2, 3, something along those lines. Those are really the only three guys in play for me for Phoenix. What else we got? Let's skip to this next game. Denver and Chicago. All right. I don't really like much of anything here for Denver. We don't have full news on Will Barton quite yet. So if he ends up being out, give a bump to Beasley, Craig, Monty Morris. But it's real. I don't see anything of value here. Paul Millsap for $21 on Yahoo is really the only thing that I really like. And Paul Millsap across the board is probably the only guy I really like. I love Nikola Jokic here. He should smash. He should absolutely destroy anything that Chicago tries to do against him. The problem is I can see this being more of a facilitation game out of Jokic, which really limits his ceiling. To pay off 11-3 and 10-6, you need a lot of scoring. And there's no reason that it can't happen. But with the pace of this game and how much the Bulls slow it down, I'm having a difficult time prioritizing Nikola Jokic today. For the Bulls side, Bobby Portis continues to be in play. 4,800 on FanDuel, 4,600 on DK, $17 on Yahoo. Just keep it in mind. He's 35% projected own on FanDuel and 47 on DraftKings. I think those numbers are both too high for a guy whose minutes are kind of up in the air. He's been a fantasy monster when he's on the floor, but for me right now, I would come in probably in the 30% neighborhood for Bobby Portis. After that, if you want to play Jabari for 3,600 on DraftKings, I get the appeal. You need a punt. He could just as easily not play at this point. I have no idea what they're doing with this guy. Otherwise, Bulls aren't really not that spot, and this game is not that spot. It's too slow. Ignore it. OKC and LA, the Lake Show, 10-point dogs in Oklahoma City. Big time pace up spot for Oklahoma City. What else we got? Russ looks like one of the best pay up options here. Between the pace of this game, I know the Lakers D has been good on a per possession basis, but I like Russ here at 12-5, 11-8, 52 on Yahoo. Very highly ranked for me. I like Paul George even a little bit more than Russ. I think there's a couple extra options at point guard, and now that Kyle Lowry is back in the lineup, I would prefer Kyle Lowry to Russ. So while I love Russ, if you're playing multiple lineups, you still want to get to Russ, but I would prefer Lowry to Russ, and if that allows me to get to Paul George, so be it. That feels better for me. What do I think of Jamal Murray? Don't like him. Biyombo, sure, as I've mentioned. Still no news on Embiid, though. You can play Adams. I think it's fine on a 5-game slate. Be prepared for a low-ish ceiling. And then Jeremy Grant, I think, looks okay. He's just filler, as his ownership kind of shows, 12 to 15%. I think I agree with that. Lake Show, these guys look better on DraftKings than they do on FanDuel. Kuzma, Ingram, Ball, all in play. I prefer Ball to those three guys just because of ownership. I like all three of these guys on whether it's FanDuel, DraftKings, or Yahoo. After that, KCP, I think, is in play for $4,500 on FanDuel and $12 on Yahoo. On DraftKings for $4,700, I have a little bit less of an appeal. So time to run a nice little Yahoo crunch. Take a look at it, and we'll move on from there. I have all of my primary information in here. So what I have it now is sorted by ownership that I would like. Everything is staying nice and concentrated at the top. I'm getting Lowry, Walker, Westbrook, Ball, Fox, Schroeder, and Jamal Murray in a one-off spot against Chicago. Not my favorite thing in the world, but we'll take a look at the rest of the lineups. Who am I liking at shooting guard on Yahoo today, Kyle? You're in luck. I happen to be there right now. Yeah. Underscore Corona Lime underscore seems to think that Embiid is playing. Who knows how legitimate of a source that is. All right. The rest of these lineups looking like for shooting guard, here comes Kyle. Ingram, Danny Green, Oladipo, Norm Powell, Jeremy Lamb, Bogdan, Buddy Hield, Devin Booker, and Will Barton. Those are the guys that I got the most of. If I sort this off by just my highest exposed guys, you're going to be looking at Brandon Ingram, Danny Green, Victor Oladipo. Those would be the shooting guards I like the most on Yahoo. At small forward, looking at George, KCP, Kuzma, Bridges, and Batum. That's not happening. $17 Batum. We're going to go ahead and cap him at 10% and recrunch. Can't do it. I just can't get myself there. Thoughts on Turner if Embiid is playing? I'm kind of indifferent to Turner either way. Power forward on Yahoo. Portis, Millsap, and Siakam looking like the main keys. I'll have some Bagley, Thad Young, Markin, and TJ Warren. And then at center, Ibaka, the crown jewel, Biyombo, Adams, Willie Cauley-Stein, Ayton, and Nikola Jokic, who is a little bit more appealing at that price point. But let's recrunch so that I don't get 2 lineups of Nick Batum. I don't want to cry myself to sleep tonight. Yeah, hey Jude, if you missed it, Kyle Lowry is in. Yes, Kyle Lowry. Look, nothing is a lock, but Kyle Lowry is the best point guard on the slate on any site tonight. So be prepared for that. Alrighty, those exposures look fine. Those exposures look fine. Those look fine, and those look fine. Take a look at the lineups. I have no issues with anything that I see here. Now I just need to start entering them. And Slack, feel free to go ahead and get your questions in. I'll be prioritizing the Slack chat for questions right now. If you're interested in being a part of that Slack chat, you can use the promo code LiveBeforeLock. And if you do that when signing up, you can get 50% off your first month with us. And hit that like button, guys. You guys know how much that helps me. Would greatly appreciate it. Time to set the old lineups. Let's get. Do I think Kemba is slowly going back into good form? I think he's going to have to. I don't really think about it like that. So I think Kemba is who Kemba is. I think not having Cody Zeller is really not helpful for him. I think that negatively impacts his output a lot, and he needs him back more than anything. But no, I mean, I'm not worried about Kemba in either direction. Same reason that I'm going to play Victor Oladipo. I'm going to assume that the average of his, performance is more important than sort of the localized swings. I want to be able to be on these guys before everyone else. And if that means, eating it on a day or two before they get back to where they need to be, I want to be ahead of the field, not behind it. Being ahead of the field will make you more likely to win a tournament. Joel Embiid is in, everybody. So if you were worried about Embiid, fear not. He is in. And that makes everything for the Philly side be, pretty unappealing. I would have a hard time recommending anyone with any gusto. It's a good game, too. I'm a big fan of that Pacers team. So I had been pointing and clicking a lot when I've been entering these Yahoo lineups over the past, however many weeks that Yahoo's been doing this stuff. And I just realized now that I could just type it all in and hit enter, and it goes so much faster. So, little wins, I guess. Going back to the well on Lowry Markkanen. I needed a little bit more out of Markkanen, I guess 2 nights ago. Finished 11th in this Yahoo tournament. Markkanen was my last guy to go. If he hits a 3, it moves me from up to 4th. Would have been very nice. Do I like Ayton more than Butler now on DK? Yeah, probably. Once I get these lineups in, I could really dig into the data and give everybody sort of the info that they're looking for. But yeah, just whatever you're doing, guys, make sure that Kyle Lowry and Serge Ibaka are the 2 guys that you're paying most attention to out of that game, because it doesn't get much better than those guys right now. Now, with that said, cue the Suns beating of Toronto in Toronto or something. That's the type of thing that happens in these situations. Thad or Ibaka if you already have Siakam. Ibaka. They don't play the same position, so I'm not super worried about it. Adam mentioned that on the show previously. You don't have to worry about playing Siakam and Ibaka in the same lineup. They don't cut into each other. Why is Kyle Lowry such a great play? I know his usage will be up, but he hasn't been great. You got to look into it with Kawhi Leonard off the floor. Night and day this season. He's just been a completely different player when he's not deferring to Kawhi. Go look at all the games that he's played when Kawhi has sat. He's smashed. I wouldn't even think twice right now. Where are we going here? KCP, Marvin Williams, or Danny Green on DraftKings? Probably Danny Green. I'm probably irrationally high on Danny Green. What do I think of Vonleh joining the Sixers? I mean, anytime a team can get someone that's good, I'm generally all for it. Depends what you have to give up. Norm Powell exposure on DK, GPP, under or over the field? I don't know what the field is at. I would imagine, I don't know, probably under. He's chalk, I would imagine under. Josh doesn't even watch games. Are we really still doing this? I watch basketball constantly. I just don't watch baseball. I don't know where this rumor has been perpetuated, but I watch basketball, at least some basketball, almost nightly. I usually put a game on as I'm getting ready in the morning for everything from the night before, just to catch up. It's my favorite sport outside of soccer. So I don't know why anybody keeps saying that I don't watch games. I certainly do. I rely on data, if that matters. But for me, I would greatly prefer to watch a basketball game. Like tonight, I am going to absolutely watch a little bit of that Sixers game. I see too much Sixers. I feel like I still live at home. Josh only watches tennis. I don't watch nearly enough tennis. I watched a lot of tennis in college. One of my best friends was, he worked at a tennis place, a tennis court. He gave tennis lessons. His dad was a tennis pro. So we used to watch tennis constantly in college, which is not something that I would imagine most people say. Projected minutes for Marvin Bagley. Great Gink. It's on the website. You know better. I don't know that off the top of my head. Enough that I'm playing him in a couple lineups on Yahoo, if that helps. Oh, I have an Embiid lineup. That's exciting. All right, lineups are in. Let's talk shop. Get your questions in now, everybody. 6:36. I've got my lineups in. We could let it rip now. Cool, Jason Williams. You're fun, man. Josh, a big cricket fan. I tried to watch it in Jamaica once. Couldn't understand it. Yeah, here we go. 25 games with Kawhi Leonard. Shout out Fast Eddie here. 25 games with Kawhi. Lowry, 34 fantasy points per game. 10 games without, 48. 14 additional fantasy points. That's why. Anything on Noel minutes, will he be limited? I mean, he's permanently limited. He's just going to play whatever Steven Adams doesn't play. Emac asking about Jokic's projection. It does feel a little light, and I get it. That's just a function of that game. There are not a lot of possessions going around. So he just naturally doesn't have enough time and spots to pick it up. So that's why he's grading out so low. We'll see how that shakes out. Am I playing the 25 on Yahoo? No, just the $10 no management fee. Is anything still open? Be happy to take a deeper look. Why is Greg Monroe projected so highly on DraftKings? I have 0 and 150. Am I missing something? I don't think you're missing anything. Am I concerned about Portis going up against Jokic? I'm concerned about Portis in general. I'm not entirely sure how many minutes he's going to play. Would I consider Michael Beasley as a punt for 3,600? Probably not. I think there's enough value out there right now. Do we still think Van Vliet will be 53% owned on FanDuel? I hope so. Okay, that's a good question, Manningdale. If we always talk about not predicting blowouts, including myself, why do we look at Vegas spreads? Spreads getting my subconscious. It's not so much that I care about the spread. What I care about is the amount of points that are implied by that, because there's a direct, every point is obviously a fantasy point. There's a correlation between that scoring and those high totals. So what I kind of look for in those high spread games, it's not so much that I'm worried about the blowout, but I'm more likely to get, let's say I have player X projected for 36 minutes in a game on average, but they're playing in a game where they're in a 14-point line. I might project him for 34 because that's a more likely scenario for that game. That's all I want to do. We've seen the Hawks beat up on the Thunder 2-3 nights ago. We saw the Hawks hang with the Raptors till the last minute. You just can't pay attention to it, or otherwise you remove yourself from potentially good value plays. If you didn't have the Hawks 2 nights ago, you were dead in the water. They were the key to it all. Lamb or Bogdan in the DK GPP? Oy. Whoop. We'll go there. Lamb. I would go Bogdan. Heald or Levine on FanDuel. I assume that this is Heald by a mile. Yeah, I greatly prefer Heald. Heald is one of my favorite plays on FanDuel because of his lack of ownership. Would I rather play Warren and Ingram or PG-13 and punt small forward? I would rather play PG-13 and a punt small forward. I assume we're talking about FanDuel in that case. And if we are, I would rather play PG-13 and play, I don't know, Norm Powell. If you don't want to do Norm Powell because of his particular ownership, I mean, any real punt will do. Mikal Bridges, MKG, Chandler Hutchison. I would just rather have PG in that scenario because of Warren's ownership. Do I like any of the point guards in the 7 to 8K range on FanDuel? Yeah, Lonzo, Kyle Lowry, obviously, number 1 at 8K. But Lonzo would be my first pick, and that's, again, mostly because of his ownership right now. It's just easier to get to Lonzo than some of these other guys. What else do we got? Any news on Barton or Harris? Nothing that I have seen quite yet, which is kind of a bummer. We've got the Kings lineup out, Hornets lineup out, Pacers lineup out, Sixers lineup out, all of which are as normal as you would expect. Which team should I play online with on FIFA? I like to play with the Belgian national team. That's any help? Probably weird. Yeah, Schroeder looks fine on FanDuel. Not as highly ranked as he's normally been for me. He's 11th, so I wouldn't go too crazy. Millsap, Thad Young, or I assume that's Bogdan in a Yahoo GPP. I could look at that a little bit differently. Millsap, Thad Young. Oh, is Boggy supposed to be Bobby? Well, Portis grades out better for me on Yahoo if that's supposed to be Bobby. I assume that he will garner more ownership. So for me, I would probably say Paul Millsap. I don't get the sense that he'll have as many eyes on him, especially in that game. Butler or Lonzo in DK cash. Oh boy, that is 2 guys that I would not be really comfortable with. Probably Lonzo. It's just a better fantasy game. So yeah, go Lonzo. Schroeder or Van Vliet on Yahoo. I can't even remember seeing either of those guys. Schroeder, not close. Do I expect Barton to play? I don't guess on that stuff. Monty Morris probably the best pump play. Jay the Savage. That's a reach, man. They got too many guys back now. There, stop whining about the likes. I mean, you know, I don't think we're asking for much for a free YouTube show, but you know, hey, if clicking a thumbs up is difficult for you, man, I'm sorry that life is such a struggle. Yes, everybody, Joel Embiid is in if you're just joining us. Kyle Lowry went from out to questionable to starting. Kyle Lowry in, Joel Embiid in. Otherwise, I don't think we have any real news that is very meaningful as of right now. Jabari Parker punt on a DK GPP. Yeah, but you're not the only one doing it. KCP or Danny Green in a FanDuel GPP. I'd bet my life that I say Danny Green here. Yeah, I would much rather have Danny Green. I don't think the difference between those two guys is all that massive, and the ownership is likely to be double. So, Shumpert a good punt on FanDuel? Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. $3,700? No issue with it whatsoever. Lonzo, Marvin Williams, Tyson Chandler, or Lowry, Portis, and Bismack in a FanDuel GPP. Lowry, Portis, and Bismack. That one's not close for me. Powell or Parker in DK cash? Oh, it should be. It's Parker. I don't like trusting Jabari Parker with sort of any part of my life. Tends to not work out well when you prioritize Jabari Parker. What else we got, guys? Chat, get him in. We've got 14 minutes left. I got nothing but time on my hands, barring any news. Why Healed? So I love Buddy Healed on FanDuel because of his ownership. He's only at 7% expected. You know what? Here's what we're gonna do. This might derail the stream right now, but it's worth it. Let me grab my Yahoo or my FanDuel projections, and we'll take a look so I can delve into. I'm going to do a quick little deep dive into some technical aspects of this. So, I got to let this run quickly. It's going to take about 10-15 seconds. So, let's do this. Fingers crossed. Yeah, so I'll do some quick housekeeping. NBA Strategies, the promo code, 50% off your first month if you enter that code with us. You can use that on any monthly package, so come check us out if you haven't dipped your toe in the water yet. We're going to have Evan Silva, Alex, and Chris doing On the Contrary tomorrow at 1:30. We will have the Awesemo Odds show on tomorrow after Adam and myself break down the NBA slate. Ooh, healed up to 9%. See, I'm talking him up. We'll have the normal deeper dive and live before lock tomorrow night. And we're going to do on Sunday, like 2 hours before kickoff of the NFL games, we're going to do a roundtable. Myself, Chris Spags, Laffy, and Ben, the four guys that have been doing the shows before lock on Sundays, are going to come together for one big show for the conference title game. So come check it all out. All right, so this is why I've been really liking the guy's name. Buddy Healed. Buddy Healed is the guy that I'm looking for. Whew. Losing my mind. Let me copy this ownership over too. It's for reference sake. Realized I didn't copy it in that first copy. All right, so if you take a look, we have Buddy Healed. I didn't refresh that, did I? What is Healed's ownership? 7%. Did I resort that? Oh, that's not projected. Okay. Perfect example. So let's do this. So what I've done, I ran a simulation. 5,000... simulated this slate 5,000 times. And what I wanted to look at was how often do players hit their target score for a GPP. In this case, instead of using a 5x multiplier, kind of overweights, it doesn't give enough, doesn't make cheap guys need to do enough. So what I'm using is 4.8x plus 15. Not that that's important. But if you sort this out, I have Devin Booker being a top 4 value play on FanDuel 38% of the time. But the key thing to keep an eye on here is how tightly packed these guys are at the top. Very little separating a lot of these guys here. 29%, 30, 31, 32. But you get guys like Bogdan Bogdanovic at 9% owned. Buddy Hield at 7% owned. But we also get, someone like Devin Booker here at 26% ownership. The ownership appears to be out of whack, when in all actuality, these guys seem to be hitting their targets just as frequently. So I want to try to get the guys that the public isn't on that still have the high likelihood of doing what you need them to do to win a GPP. So it's something I've been looking into a lot lately. Something we're going to talk about a little bit more on the show, on shows moving forward. But yeah, it just makes someone like Buddy Hield and Bogdan stand out because, they get to that ceiling just as likely. Kobe Gilkey, Lowry out. No, he's not. Kyle Lowry very much in. All right, back to the questions here. Biyombo or Norman as center? Norman? Norman Powell is not a center. Batum and Hield are the Bogdanoviches on Yahoo. The Bogdanovi. Give me the Bogdanovi. My favorite under $11 player on Yahoo. Michael J. Fitch, you said, yeah, but when they crap their pants, you lose big time. I'm not telling you if that Buddy Hield is 6%, you should play 40, but it's a very nice reason to go to 12 to 15% and walk back a little bit on the chalk. Remember, the goal in your slate is not to score the most points. It's to win the tournament. And sometimes you need to take a step back on your optimal lineup to make you be more likely to win. This guy sucks. Worst advice I've ever heard. Happy to have you, Jason Williams. I don't know which Jason Williams you are. I like the one from Duke. White chocolate was always awesome. If I have my fingers crossed, you're the dude that shot the limo driver, and you're talking about this from a jail cell or wherever you are. So congratulations on getting an hour out of your cell to use the computer. Let's see. Josh Engelman is about to break a lot of people's brains. Yeah, that was probably not something I should have done as a throwaway in a live stream with 8 minutes until lock. I have 0 Jeremy Grant and 150 DK GPP. Is this okay? I mean, it's not a problem. I would probably want to have more than 0, but I mean, it's Jeremy Grant, so you can't be like too upset. Yeah, I'm like Birdman. Put some respect on my name. Are we finished or are we done? Bagley Grant or Marvin FanDuel GPP? 2 last names and a first name. Let's see what I've got here. This would be a very nice example of where we would want to look at this. So Marvin Bagley, Jeremy Grant, and Marvin Williams are the 3 guys that were just asked about. I have Marvin Williams here, Jeremy Grant here, Marvin Bagley here. Bagley is essentially unowned. Marvin Williams and Jeremy Grant are both top 4 value plays at a similar rate. Jeremy Grant pulling in a little bit more ownership than Marvin Williams. So for me in this spot, I'll go to Marvin Williams. I would pick Marvin Williams ahead of Jeremy Grant. I hope you can do something with the $700 savings. You don't deserve respect. You're a clown. I appreciate it, man. Don't you know that you make me happy when you come in and do this? You're better off just telling me you like me. Oh, I hate compliments. Lowry still has the out tag on DraftKings. If that's true, that's awesome. Kudos to everybody playing on DK today, because if Kyle Lowry is marked as out, you guys are going to clean up. I'm more like bird person. I'm bird person. Tammy. That's the best I can do. I could just say Tammy like that. Low owned players on the late slate. That's too big of a deep dive here. You don't deserve to give advice. You don't have credentials. I'd love to know how you ended up at our free show then, champ. KCP thoughts. I like him less than the public does, Manningdale. Are we finished or are we done? 6 minutes, everybody. Get your stuff in. Does VanVleet usage rise without Kawhi? I don't think so. I think it actually craters. Jabari and KCP or Tyreek Evans and Danny Green in a FanDuel tournament. Jabari and KCP, I guess. I can't really, in good conscience, recommend Tyreek Evans, although I did have him in my Yahoo lineup 2 nights ago, and it went well. Croviel, I don't respond to hate more than questions. I just don't respond to as many YouTube questions because we have a premium Slack that I have to keep my eye on. I can't kick him out. He's such a terrible troll. I want him to hang around and get all my good tidbits. Does this program come with this site? No, it does not. But I'm happy to talk about it anytime you want to. Yeah, okay, now you're going to go bye-bye. Of course his usage rises, you moron. Let's see. Fred Van Vliet with Valanciunas, Kawhi Leonard, and OG Anunoby off the floor. 15% usage and on 353 possessions. And goodbye, Jason Williams. Your internet time is over. I might have to tell your PO officer on you. Goodbye. People really playing Depot. At some point in time, man, he's gonna catch it. Oh, just for the record, guys, I talk about the hate because I find it hilarious. It affects me this much. It's just funny. Fade Bird Box. I haven't seen it, but my wife told me I should watch it. Thoughts on Collison on FanDuel? Not a guy that I've really looked at. If I take a peek at him now, Collison comes out as... I should probably just resort this so it doesn't continue to be wrong. I'm looking at point guards. Darren Collison would be 11th for me. Kind of a tough sell. Marvin Williams or Portis on a DK GPP. Probably Marvin Williams, but it's just an ownership thing. If you're playing in GPP, I feel like that's a spot where you can get different. The Bobby Portis picture in the thumbnail is fantastic, isn't it? What's Embiid's FanDuel ownership? I don't know, 15? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't even see it. Yeah, I don't know. Probably 10. Josh doesn't sleep because the hate comments keep him up at night. I don't sleep. It's tough. Millsap or Thad for cash? I would rather have Millsap, but it would help if he told me which site. Bernie or Guillotine? I don't know if I should be flattered by that or not, but I'm gonna copy that just in case. Thank you. Let me make sure I save this. All right, there we go. Ray, we will talk about it. Maybe we could talk about it tomorrow during the day. Watch Birdbacks with the girlfriend. I'm missing zero. The memes are better than the movies. Yeah, I don't know anything about it, really. I just know that Sandra Bullock wears a blindfold. Kind of kinky. Zach, is Lowry marking in at $23 on Yahoo too much with Wendell Carter Jr. out? No, I do have him today. Kyle Lowry, 14% in the FanDuel and 7% DFS ownership. Yeah, you guys can get really lucky on DK if Kyle Lowry's ownership stays low because it should probably be in the 30s. Does Butler on Oladipo worry you? Not in the least. Thad, Bogdan, or Millsap in a GPP on Yahoo. I don't have the Yahoo stuff anymore, but it's still Millsap for me. Is Beasley worth waiting for? Harris news and DK GPP. Not aggressively, but you would want to make those moves if you could to get at least a little bit of Beasley. Go to domestic beer. I don't have any. Bernie or guillotine, don't worry about the spelling, my man. Spelling's tricky. What am I drinking right now? I don't know, some Costco beer. So I guess Costco beer is my domestic beer. Mo Salah hat trick versus Palace on Saturday. One could hope. Ashley McDaniel. I planned on 0 Kyle Lowry and ended up 100% Lowry. Don't let me down, Josh. So that might be more extreme than I would have totally recommended. Love Lowry, but don't blame me on the 100. How much for that program? It's infinite monies. We're locked. Boom. We are locked. Thank you guys for joining me today. Any daddy likes. If Eddie's in Slack, you could hit him up with those chats. I'm back, loser. Keep it shut. Yeah, I only kicked you out for 5 minutes. I know what I did. Now I'm sending you out permanently. Bye. Bye. Let's see what else we got. Whoa, legalized whining in Slack chat. Shocked. Haven't seen that one before. That one's new. Love you guys. Thanks for joining me today. It was a fun show. Take a look at I'll at least take a look at my Yahoo exposures. Let's see what games have started. De'Aaron Fox 12, Lamb 13, Bagley 21. Ooh, I would have played less Bagley. Thad Young 18. That's the one I want to see. Buddy Hield 2.7 on Yahoo. Bogdan 3.1. Woo wee. Gimme. Daddy likey. Now Eddie's talking Spanish to me, and I don't remember Spanish. I am blue. I am water. That's agua. Fuck, man. Eddie, I have no idea what you're saying to me. What else do we have for exposures? Kemba. What? What? Kemba Walker is 50% in the damn Yahoo tournament. Are you shitting me right now? I play him 3 times? Yeah, I'll take it. Holy hell. Now I don't know what to cheer for. Oh my god. 50% Kemba in this tournament is pretty aggressive. I'm calling you out, Ed Fear. I'm dropping the finisher and cutting a promo right after it. Yeah. Guys, I don't remember Spanish. I took it for 2 years in high school. Fucking 16 years ago. Yeah. If Kemba, yeah, that's Eddie makes it. Eddie just brought up a good point. If Kemba Walker is 50% in this Yahoo tournament, I might go to even more Kyle Lowry. Can I do that? Do I have an easy way to do that? This is the good stuff. I don't know. Alrighty. I'm going to wrap it up, guys. best of luck. I'm going to go eat some dinner. Thank you for joining me. Big day of content tomorrow, so tune into everything that we're doing at awesemo.com. Check the awesemo.com YouTube page. All of the shows will be up super early in the morning, so you can check out what we've got going on. Alrighty, I'm out of here. Best of luck and bye. Deuces.